My name is Gianni Russo, a.k.a. Carlo, the infamous son-in-law from The Godfather. I'm now known as the Hollywood Godfather, and this is my story.
Before all of the wins in my portfolio, I was a little boy diagnosed with polio. Experimenting with cures, I tried every one. Felt everything in my right, but my left was numb. Walking with a limp, like will I ever run? Once again, or is this it? Am I forever done? Living in the hospital was never fun. Some people were cool, but not everyone.
Good evening, everybody. It's time for another Hollywood Godfather podcast. Let me introduce our co-hosts first, because both of us are so engrossed in this topic tonight, and you'll find out why in a minute. Jeannie Raymond, my darling, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. I'm so excited about this movie we're going to talk about. I cannot wait.
You know, this movie that we're going to talk about, this is the first time ever I could think of in my 80 years of life. I know the two principals that they made the movie about personally, spent time with them, especially Frank Costello right to his death.
Right.
Then Bobby De Niro. I spent so many years with him developing projects together, and obviously we were both in several movies, and he's playing both parts, which he wasn't supposed to.
Oh, really?
Another friend of mine was supposed to play the other part, Al Pacino.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know what happened there. The director, Barry Levinson, I know him forever. Nick Pileggi, who wrote, his history with Goodfellas, Casino, and all those. This was the third movie of his Mafia trilogy. The movie was finished 3 years ago by Warner Brothers, a major studio, a $35 million budget.
Oh, wow.
So I know the writer of the screenplay. I know the director of the movie. I know the people who are in the movie, and I know the people that they made the movie about. And the one thing I'm so curious about, and I'm glad you volunteered, which our audience is about to hear why, you volunteered to go see the movie Thursday night.
I cannot wait. And I've asked about this a million times. We had Catherine Narducci on the show.
Right.
Matt Servito, is that?
Catherine played Frank Costello, not Frank Costello, Vito Genovese's wife.
Right.
And I tried to get her on, but she's so busy now because the movie's about to come out.
Right.
And what's very interesting, on the 18th of this month, we simultaneously, with Eric Shaw, did a documentary on Frank Costello for Fox. And we've been holding that all these years, waiting for this movie to come out. And well, as our audience knows, he was just on last week.
Right. I cannot wait. I mean, I've got a lot of catching up, or a lot of projects, or a lot of little side jobs to see all of this in the next little while before.
What I think about you going to see this is how we originally created this for you here. You are the eyes and the ears of our audience. You ask the questions that we think our audience will. And right. Now, for you to go see this and come back and tell us what you thought about it, it's got to be the purest opinion, because you're really not involved, but you are on the periphery. You're involved in it all.
Right.
So, well, I can't wait for you to see it.
I can't either, because I can't wait to I'm sure there's going to be, what do they call it? Creative differences. I wonder how much.
Oh my God, yeah.
Different, but I thought about it, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to go in there. I did think I probably should go alone so I can pay perfect attention, but I'm so excited to hear about it and to meet the guy, get another opinion, so to speak, of Frank Costello. just excuse me, so that I just want to know more about him. I know what you've taught me through, your stories, but I cannot wait to just take this all in. So I will be taking notes. So we'll have a lot
I
to
was going
talk
to say,
about.
bring a pad because there may
Oh
be
yeah.
I don't even know how long the film's running. It's running time on it. But when you here I am, I'm sitting in Frank Costello's apartment.
Right.
I've never been so involved with a film that I'm not involved with. My curiosity, what has basically smothered my curiosity of even seeing the film, is that I've been in the film business now 54 years. And when a movie was finished 3 years ago by a major studio, they want that money released. So
Yeah.
they've had $35 million invested in this project for 3 years and not had received one dime yet.
Yeah.
The only thing that tells me, being in the film business, they probably didn't like the movie. So they
The
probably did a bunch
producer.
of recuts on it
Oh, okay. Okay.
and re-edited it. And then what the other thing that comes out of my childhood, like everything else with Costello, Alto Knights, you're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. Alto Knights was a social club in Howard Beach. That's Brooklyn. What does this have to do with two New York mob bosses? That's the name of the movie now. To
Right.
only add
Now,
more confusion to it.
right. Now, did you know of Alto Knights before this?
I knew of Alto Notes before. Well, Alto Nights was a place where, you know, I had to drop envelopes or pick up
Okay.
stuff. It was an actual social club, like the Raven Night was 247. Uh, Colombo family had a club on 58th Street in Brooklyn. They all had their social clubs. That's how it started. And you had to get a license. And once you put up social club members only, you could do anything you wanted there. The police couldn't even go in.
Oh, really?
Oh, unless they knew
Wow.
there was a crime going on,
Right.
but they couldn't assume one and just come in and look. That's why these social clubs were really an extension of being a part of a mob family. Because people would join these social clubs, and whoever had the club, like Joe Colombo's club, everybody knew whose club they were. Like Fat Tony Salerno's club was 119th Street. I can name every club in five boroughs. But they let it go because, obviously, not to say police are on the take, but some police are on the take. So they turn a
Sure.
blind eye and they get an envelope at the end of the month and everybody's happy. But the one deal they did have, which I find that even amusing, they had an agreement with the local police that nothing will go on in the club illegally. So they had an agreement. They'll take you in the alley and kill you, but not in the club.
Not inside. Take that out back.
So I always found that so amusing how they actually came up with laws to live by so they could do what they wanted to do.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, it'll be interesting to dive into this and to learn more about what went on and to see is it Nick Pileggi?
Nick Pileggi is a great writer.
Right.
But see, the statement you just made, all you're going to see is what he put on paper, his interpretation of what he
Right.
believes it was.
Right.
Then it goes another level. Barry will take what he wants to do, because Barry Levinson's a great director, and his creative juices start going, and you don't know where they're going.
Right.
And then the other challenge I'm finding is that how does De Niro separate himself in one movie to play two different personalities? And I saw the makeup on, and I sent you some pictures too.
Oh yeah.
I can't even interpret them. I can't even see him as Vito Genovese. See, what our audience don't know, which is a lot of fact, if they looked it up, they'll find it. Vito Genovese, while I was working for Frank Costello, I just started. And I was maybe 2 or 3 months on the job, running as a messenger. And one morning, I meet him, I always did, in front of the Sherry Netherlands. He had a bandage on his head, and it was all over the news that somebody tried to kill him the other night, the night before I meet him again. I saw him during the day. He didn't have a bullet hole in
Yeah.
his ear. Now he does, which I find even, no, I don't know if anybody ever questioned this yet. He got shot just like Trump did over that
Right.
ear, the same ear,
That's,
same,
yeah.
almost the same scar. It's like somebody was trying to copycat Chin. I knew Chin, who was the hitter at the time, and he became the family boss later on. He
Oh,
became the boss of the Genovese family years later.
and what's his name?
Well,
Chin, Israel,
Chin Gigante,
Chicken.
and but that's a whole other situation. But
Right.
it's so funny that's what I'm saying. All this, basically, I think it's confusion. How do you put all this into one movie now? It was done 3 years ago. I reiterate that. And now it's taken 3 years to come up with a product. And they're releasing it this Thursday. Alto Knights. With the
I am,
Alto Knights had nothing to do with New York mob.
well, maybe we'll learn some new, enlightening things. That's what I'm so excited to see it. And then on top of that, then we're gonna have Eric Shank's, is it called a mini series he's got a great thing going on Fox Nation. And I know right now there's one on Jimmy Hoffa, and it's 3 parts or 3 episodes. There's one on Jimmy Hoffa coming up, and then the one he's doing on Frank Costello. And it's called Frank Costello, the real life Godfather. And we will definitely be putting out some, making sure it's in our show notes.
We did that one already, just so you know.
Right. Yeah. So if
No, I mean, and I like where Eric's going with this, and I'm glad Fox giving him the leeway.
yeah,
Because we all know the world is enamored with the mob.
right.
It's been that way. I mean, great actors like Cagney, Bogart, all of them made careers in Hollywood portraying real gangsters. Some of them were associated gangsters. I know that. I mean, Humphrey Bogart was, known to be with people, and so many other people. That's why it's funny, because that brings me to the title of my new book, is Celebrities and Gangsters, because celebrities have always been around gangsters, and the only reason that was because to be a success, even the record business or in a nightclub, they owned all the nightclubs and they controlled all the record labels and they controlled all the DJs, because when they wanted something played, they'd deliver a couple of kilos of cocaine to the radio station, and they played it was like insanity. So I mean, it's just corruption in
All the
the
way around.
legitimate world. I mean,
That's
but
right. Well,
I'm
we need to do a break here. So
oh,
sorry, I
please.
didn't interrupt you, but if you're ready for a commercial, and we can get back to this.
Yeah, I mean, well, the commercials I'm going to promote now is I want all our listeners to know we have reorganized, which we've had problems with, like so many other companies during COVID. Corleone Fine Italian Foods has been reconstructed, and we'll start launching again within this first quarter, which is only a couple of weeks. But we're going to launch, and then you'll know again in the second quarter to go back on socially. And I'm happy to say we are now a vendor of TikTok,
Oh, wow.
which is very hard to be. And we are a vendor on TikTok, which will give us 100 million households a day
Oh,
in
wow.
exposure.
Is that running right now?
Oh, no. We're launching it the
that,
second quarter.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, I'm
We're just
excited.
getting all reorganized to get product in, and we've been waiting to see what our new president and my friend Donald Trump kind of tariffs
Sure.
he's going to put on the imports out of Italy. We hear it's not going to be much because we really don't compete with American products. We only bring in things you can't get from there. So
Okay.
you're not going to get Genco olive oil from Cleveland somewhere. But anyway, so
All right.
that's our commercial for now. So Mike, you don't have to edit anything in.
That's right.
And
Okay.
moving right along, so it's again, I want to know when your head, because you're not a part of this world at all,
No,
part of so many worlds, but a nice Mormon girl like you, it's like
that's right.
you're approaching this movie probably now with more knowledge than you've ever had because of being on the show.
You bet. Well, and I'm so excited. I really want to see what the man that was like a father to you was like. You
Oh
know
my
what I
God,
mean?
no.
And they speak of him as such a gentleman. I've heard him Frank called the prime minister of the mafia. Also, the real what's the show coming out with Fox? They call it Frank Costello, the real life Godfather. You know, and I know the influence he had on your life. So I'm just looking. It
Well,
sounds
he
very
and Loretta basically they never had children, and I got to know both of them. But even with her, he kept her totally separate and divided. It was very rare you saw her in the Copa, if ever.
yeah.
And he went home every night for dinner. Every night he'd leave, go have dinner, then come back later. He was always there just before the first show, and he'd leave soon after and be home by 10:30. That's how they knew to shoot him, which is another thing. I mean, when you know where he lived on the west side, when you went through the front door of the building he lived in, the elevator was maybe 10 feet away. So when Chin went in there, he went down the steps and he said, "This is for you, Frank." How at close range you missed the guy?
Right.
I mean,
I mean, that
he
smell of
should have
air.
shot him in the chest. He would have been dead.
Right.
Would you shoot a guy in the head in an elevator when you have the biggest target in the world, his whole silhouette? But
Now,
I
what
always,
building is that in?
what's that?
What building is that in? Because I know that the hole is still there, right?
Oh yeah, in the marble. Well, they chipped the marble. They're going to replace it. It's the door frame around the elevator. No, but I mean, it became. I mean, for years, people were going there. They wouldn't even let them in because it
Oh,
became. It becomes like. Well, it's so funny because across the street, ironically, John Lennon was shot down.
oh wow.
It's on the same block.
Holy smokes.
And that never comes out at all. I mean, it's funny because Costello's shooting it gets more attention than Lennon.
Wow. That's wild. Yeah, I do know, and even Eric Shawn mentioned that about the hole still being there. Well, that's incredible. And you said, didn't you say right after that you saw him talking to that guy or having
Well,
lunch?
you know what? I mean, that was not for public knowledge, but now it is because when I met him, you know, we didn't have the social media that we have now,
Oh,
and so it was newspapers or radio stuff, or you watch television. So I knew the name, and I saw the images of the likeness of the guy. They brought him in for questioning, and Costello. This is what I find really interesting. Couldn't identify him in a lineup. So after I met him, a few days later only, he was in Peacock Alley where I used to meet Costello every day. I used to meet him at 11 o'clock. I beat him by 10:30, 11. And every day, you know, Blackie would come out and say, Mr. C wants to see you. And I get my marching orders for the day. I've met Joe Kennedy behind those drapes. I met gangsters behind those drapes. I mean, I met Marilyn Monroe behind those drapes. That's the kind of people he had. You know, I mean, just talking about the Kennedys, again, I'm being redundant, but think about the genius of this man. During Prohibition, Joe Kennedy and him made $50 million each. In the 30s,
Holy
it's like
cow.
$1 billion.
That's
And even by that time, when they say he was the prime minister, and he controlled Tammany Hall. Now, Tammany Hall was the big Democratic Party club. So
okay.
anything that went on in Tammany Hall, they used to appoint federal judges out of that building. Anybody that wanted to move up in the Democratic Party had to be there. And that's why when I had a conversation with Mario Puzo, because I'm doing a movie called The Godfather many years later, and I said, Mario, how did you come up with Vito Corleone? He's, well, there are three godfathers that I used. He used Joe Pafacci, who was the olive oil king, and I know him. I knew
Okay.
him well, in fact. And his son John is still a friend of mine and still alive. So he took him as the olive oil guy. Then he took the image of Carlo Gambino, which I know all of my life. The small, slight man, you know, very calm, very peaceful, very imported looking Italian. He never changed. He lived in Brooklyn and we wore good, nice clothes, but it wasn't over exaggerated and didn't want the attention. And then he said Frank Costello, which I knew it had to be because Frank Costello, just me watching him on the streets, he was so gentle. He never raised his voice. He'd whisper in your ear and give a marching order to somebody, and the next day you never heard of again, but nobody else knew either. But he wasn't, you know, these loud, like we see John Gotti screaming at people and taking bows in courtrooms. That never was. I mean, I remember John Gotti from Howard Beach, and basically he was a truck hijacker, and he had to get, that's what he was. Did you know that?
No.
He started out by hijacking trucks at JFK Airport. They knew the drivers, and the drivers would pull into a certain diner at a certain time. And while they were in there, somebody would rob their truck. The driver was in on it.
Oh, is that how the saying, it just fell off the truck, came
Yeah,
along?
that's why that was the big saying in our neighborhood. They bring, you know, a bunch of suits in because they'd divvy up the stuff that was on the trucks.
Yeah.
And that's how we knew where it came from.
Fell off the truck. I
It
love
fell
that.
off the truck. But so I mean, you know, again, it's spooky how all of that has been a foundation of my existence with Costello. Even
Right.
this apartment. I mean, we had 20 phones in my bedroom. That's where they were laying the line every day for the bookmakers. When you were booking numbers, the numbers became one of the biggest things in New York and throughout the United States because what you were betting on was the final amount of money on whatever track was in season running that day and the total handling of the first race. If it was, 46,900,000 something, the last three nickels and dimes was the number. So
Jeez.
you had a new number almost every hour, and it was being advertised on the radio.
Now, this was something that housewives were doing, right?
Everybody got involved with
Everybody
it
could do
because
that.
what it was 26 to 1, the odds. So if you bet a dollar, you got $26. If you bet a quarter, you got 26 quarters. Everybody was involved in it.
Oh my gosh. That'd make gamblers out of all of us. You
And,
know what
and,
I
and the
mean?
good news, yeah, because,
You win
during the day, everybody had the radio on. And a bookmaker could have even one block in New York when you think about it, because he could go up and down the hallway and just say, what do you want on number one today? The first race, second race. So they had 10 races to bet on.
Oh my gosh.
But
Yeah, that would suck us all in, I think.
and I could remember, I remember when even with the guy who killed Lee Harvey Oswald, Jack
Oh,
Ruby.
mhm.
Jack Ruby ran that same business for Costello in Dallas, Texas. It became nationwide because the racetrack was always part of like the sports, like getting a score of a game. They would give you the winner of that today at the Aqueduct. They give you the river. If it's coming out of Hialeah in Florida, wherever the races were run, they'd give you the winner of the first race. Then all you do looked up the total handling. That's the number. You win or don't win. But you could box the numbers too. Like
You're kidding.
yeah, you could box the numbers so they come in. There's all combination. I mean,
Just like horse racing. Oh, wow.
but Costello came up with that.
Really? That's
That's the
amazing.
kind of brain he had. He and Meyer Lansky. I mean, I can't praise these two guys. I don't know anybody smaller. I mean, a couple of guys I can't mention their name right now because two of them are still alive. But these guys are geniuses. And the one guy I'm talking about that I talk to once a week, he amassed billions and billions of dollars legitimately. That's how smart they were. And all the guys that I know that made the big money were nonviolent.
Well, Frank, it didn't sound like he ever had to be violent. He seemed like a very calm and
No,
controlled.
that's how they handled it. It's all these loudmouth people like the Tony Spilatros that destroyed the mob, the outfit for Chicago. All these guys that saw The Godfather too many times and started wearing, 6-inch collars with the ties, and they were better off when they were in their warm-up suits and playing a low profile. Then they all wanted to become Sonny Corleone. It's funny.
Wow. So tell me so this movie is going to talk about Frank and Genovese,
Yeah,
right?
Vito Genovese, when he was away, Costello was the boss of the Genovese family.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And while Vito was away, he watched his family become extremely rich under the
Oh,
power of Frank Costello.
okay.
And he didn't realize, because he never, he was in jail. They weren't talking, corresponding.
Right.
But, if all he had to do, and I think once he realized they only won't, that's why I still think that Chin sent a message. It wasn't a
Oh,
true threat of death.
right.
And all Vito wanted was his family back, but he was so jealous of Frank, is the reason I think maybe he wanted to get him killed. So I'm still divided on that yet, because Vito
Right.
Genovese was a tyrant, where the other guy was just a big teddy bear and had all the power. And that's
So when Genovese came back,
when
did
he got released from prison.
right?
He
And
wanted his
tell him
family
you
back.
want to
He
give him
thought he
back?
had to take it with brawn.
Okay.
He
That's what
didn't realize that Costello wanted out of this. He was already creating the syndicate, the worldwide syndicate with the Jews. And that's what that's all about. And I think it was really demonstrated very well in The Godfather when Lee Strasberg, one of the great acting teachers in the world, played Hyman Roth, who was supposed to be Meyer Lansky. And when he was sitting around on a patio in Florida with a bunch of guys from all over the country who were bosses, he announced that next year will be bigger than U.S. Steel.
that's right.
And that's what that meant. They were. They were making billions of dollars legitimately.
Wow.
But again, it's always, the Goombas and the street guys that are selling the dope, which they weren't supposed to do.
Right.
Shylock and the money, because they were the bookmakers, and then if you lost too much money, they'd lend you the money to pay them. And you're paying, and you're getting 6 for 5, and forget the interest money. But so I mean, it's a life that's never going away. It's been cleaned up. We know that.
Right.
I mean, because you know I'm a living legend of that. I wouldn't jaywalk today. But so I think our audience is like myself. I'm anticipating to hear next week's show.
I can't wait.
So please take your pad.
Oh, I've already got it all planned out. I'm like, I'm going to be taking notes. I might have to see it again in case I can't write notes quick enough.
Yeah, to me, it's going to be interesting too to see who else is playing what parts.
Right. And for me,
in the movie itself.
right. For me, it's going to be, I hear all these names, and I have for years, even before I joined the podcast, and all these names that have come up over the years, and kind of put it all together in a big picture. And I am so looking forward to it. So
I've seen two scenes from the movie already.
Oh, you have?
Oh yeah.
Well,
I what you have to remember in the two scenes, it's when Vito and him meet.
Oh, when they meet.
And they're sitting across from a table, but De Niro's playing both of them. So when he's delivering his lines to whoever's sitting over there just for eye contact,
oh yeah,
he's talking to Vito Genovese. And when Vito's talking to Costello, it's him again. So that to me is going to be a test of acting.
Oh yeah,
makeup, everything about it. It's.
Well, Catherine Narducci, she was the one that was telling us when we interviewed her a couple years ago, and I think it's going to be amazing. I mean, De Niro, of course, is a great actor, but to watch him, and she said to totally transform, I am so looking forward to that. And then Deborah Messing, I think of her and I think of Will and Grace, and she's
I know.
bubbly, cute thing, and I think, and this is going to be a completely different character for her. So I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Yeah. No, when they said her name, I'm saying, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But the contrast is good.
Right.
But I'm hoping she's playing Loretta, because Loretta was more of that. Yeah,
she is. She's playing her, and Catherine is playing. I don't know Genovese. What's his wife's name?
Vito. Oh, I don't know her name either.
Oh, okay. Well,
you never really met. These guys never had their wives around.
Right.
Never.
So it'll be interesting to see how they're portrayed in this.
Well, yeah, I mean, the women, I don't think, like we're sitting here, we don't even know who they are.
Right.
So I don't know if we're going to have any contrast to go by. But those two guys, I don't know how we're going to, it's going to be interesting.
Yes, it is.
You're going to be our eyes and ears, and I can't wait for you to report back.
Oh, I can. I've for the last year, I've said, when are these coming out? So let's do a quick commercial, and then we will talk a little bit more.
Okay, please. Well, again, we're going to talk about a project I'm very invested in, very proud of. In fact, you could see the products right over Jeannie's head. They'll be back in your supermarkets or wherever you shop, but mostly online, because that's where we sold so much stuff online. It was amazing to me. Yeah. So I'm proud to say we reorganized the second quarter of this year. They'll be available to you again. That's all I need to say about it. But we're running a little late. The big thing you and I have to keep telling all our fans who are listening to us right now, keep the cards and letters coming in. Give us topics that you want to hear about or read about, or something you read about and you think it's something that we should talk about.
Absolutely. The fun part about that is going to be, like we talked about, they'll use their what do they call that? Creative liberties or whatever
Oh,
to
yeah.
change that. But it's going to be so fun to run these things past you and to see what maybe they've got right, what they've got wrong. And then, I mean, I'm so excited for the show, but then again, another really fun part to all of this is the thing that Eric Shawn has done, because it also, this does include you, and they come to your house
Oh, yeah.
and take the tour there. I can't stand it. I've said since I've met you, I can't wait to see the inside of that gorgeous place.
But I don't know if you're going to see a lot of it. Again, I don't know
Yeah,
what it looks like. I don't know what the final cut was.
that's true.
We were here for 3 or 4 hours shooting,
Right.
and there was 2 cameramen, all that. But again, you never know. It may be a two-shot. You may only be seeing what you're seeing now, but on a different angle from the table.
Well, that may be. That may be. Well, it'll be exciting to see.
Waiting for you to come and get a personal tour
I
and have
cannot
dinner with
wait
us.
for that. You're exactly right. So, as far how long did Genovese go? Genovese? How do you say that? Sorry,
Vito Genovese.
Genovese. How long was he gone? And that Costello was taking care of the family.
Well, the last time he was gone, I think it was only 3. He got 5, and I think he did 38 months or something like that. So that's how long. And they do all these. They get him on income tax. They get him on stupid things, but but you're under such surveillance, and when you're confined in a jail, you're not doing anything. So.
Yeah. Well, I did see. I kind of read through the cast of the show to see who else was going to be in it, and they showed the different actors, and they showed quite a few. They listed as judge. So
Okay.
I'm sure they're going to be showing some court stuff. So I know Costello he went to court where they only showed his hands, and I know
No,
that
this,
part of it. What was it
the
for?
interesting thing about that was not that was it was a first time commission meeting against the mob, and they
Oh,
brought him in, and he said, "I'll be on camera, but you're only allowed to shoot my hands." And they didn't want to say, "No, we don't want you," because they wanted Costello there. So
right.
all during his interrogation, you're seeing his hands. And it was the biggest thing because people were watching TV trying to look up and see if they could see what he looked like.
That's what I would be doing too. Like, I can't see that. And that was the commission.
Yeah, well, they had all those at that time. That was when Bobby became Attorney General and
Okay.
J. Edgar Hoover had to finally say, yes, there is a mafia. So they created all these different crime commission hearings, and they were televised at that time. It was very intriguing. During the day, all the housewives wanted to see the gangsters.
The original court TV, huh?
Yeah.
That's wild. So, I don't know if it's part of the movie. I'm sure it probably is. Maybe you could tell us. When did Costello turn everything, the family back over to Genovese?
He retired.
He retired
Costello retired,
okay.
but he didn't. What he did, he took over being the prime minister of the Syndicate, which was bigger than anything. But it was low key. They got into legitimate businesses. You couldn't even stop them because look all the money they had just from prohibition. You have
That's
15 million in cash.
That's insane.
No, it was all good.
So another thing is, so I know you were kind of involved. Where does all his money go when Costello passes away? I mean, I know
He's still major trust, still major holdings. He still owns 11 Wall Street. It's a high-rise building.
that's wild.
No,
He's
he's a
nowhere.
genius,
Yeah,
absolute genius.
that's so crazy. Yeah, I wondered about that. I thought, he had no children. I know he was very good to you, but I just think
He was good. He's good to the people I know. He was good to was Marilyn, me. he really liked Marilyn, and then all, obviously that
Oh,
demise.
yeah.
But it was great to be around them,
Yeah.
especially him. He taught me so much. I mean, I would have nothing. I mean, I wouldn't say nothing, but he
Right.
gave me a lot of leeway to be successful. Let's put it that way.
Well, and he taught you how to be such a smart businessman. That is what
That I learned from him. All my knowledge is from the street. I went to the University of Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks.
Well, we're
Well,
running late.
all
We
right.
love you out there. Stay safe, be kind, and stay healthy. God
That's
bless.
right. And please rate and review our show. Pass it along to a friend. Follow us on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We could use some 5-star ratings because that pushes us up the charts and more people will find it. And we would love that to happen. So thank you all for
Also,
your support.
what you should do, get in touch with Mike and give all the new mediums we're on. We're on more platforms now. We really expanded throughout the world.
Oh, fantastic.
We're up and doing it. We're doing it.
All right. Well, we'll certainly do that. Look forward to that. Share us with a friend. Thanks for your support. Thanks, Jose, who's always listening, and prayers to all of our friends that are needing them right now. So.
All right, please.
All right, my dear.
Good night
Love
now.
you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that was that. But I'll be back.
No regrets, no complaints. Lived a life with no restraints.